What is up, everybody? Swood here, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about how to get known in the pro community, and more so on the topic of whether you should be diverse in your decks or just be really good at one deck, be a specialist with that deck. So before we get into the video, I just quickly wanted to show you, I'm going to be showing replays from an event I played last night hosted by Full Frontage. I just played against round robin against a lot of other pro players, and I actually ended up winning. I went 6-1 in total. So we'll go over a couple of those matches against some pro players, just showing the battle log first. Shout out to Pro Noob, he was the one that beat me, playing a really weird deck, which is actually going to be part of this video today. So, getting into the video, as I show this match, one of the biggest things about getting known in the community is you sort of have to, there's a cliche where if you just join a clan, one of the lower ranked clans, and you just go up in the system, you'll eventually get known in the community. This isn't really a great way to get known in the community. It's just an easy answer that a lot of people say. I think it's sort of a cliche and doesn't really work for a lot of people, so I kind of wanted to make this video just to show a proper way of how to actually get known. Obviously this isn't going to work for everyone. It's sort of dependent on how hard you put in, how much effort you put into it, and obviously it won't work for everyone, but hopefully you guys can still take something away from this. So the first thing is, if you are an unknown player, this is going to be an advantage for you going into events, and I think the best way to get known in the community is to do well in a really big event, such as Vulcan winning King's Cup. He'd been around for over a year, and I knew who he was, but a lot of the community didn't really know who he was, and now he's a staple in the pro community. And also players like Music Master, who was in CCGS, so doing really well in a live event like King's Cup or CCGS is going to be probably the best way to make a name for yourself in the community. If you're just playing in these small leagues, that will help too, but not everyone will know you, just be a few people. And if you're on a B team of some clan, not a lot of people will know you, so I don't really think that's an effective way to do it. So I think the best way is do really well in a live event, or a really big event. So the best way to do that is you're going to be playing against a lot of other pro players who are some of the best in the game. And I think your advantage that you have to realize and take full advantage of is you're unknown. People don't really know who you are, what kind of decks you play, your tendencies. So you got to take advantage of that. There's a lot of information about other players out there in the community. There's lots of events, you can see what they play. And then going into an event, if you're able to have, I think the best way to do it is have an off-meta deck that people don't know. So when you go into an event, people see the deck, they're like, oh, okay, I can beat that. He's not that good. And then you actually play the match, and they've never really played against it, so they get into situations where they don't really know what the best play is, and it causes them to mess up. This is an example, was Oxalate brought out that Golem no big spell deck after the lightning nerf, and he beat Wings, who had a P.E.K.K.A. poison deck, and he did that twice, and then he beat Colton with a Hog Executioner Tornado deck twice also. So that was just a really good example of a deck where people think they can beat it, but they don't actually know all the intricacies of the matchup, and it actually causes them to lose just because they're not prepared. So if you're able to bring a deck like that where you're able to throw off your opponent, it's going to throw away all their prep work that they've done in the past, and it's just going to make them focus simply on what's going on right now and how they can play against it. So it's basically just pro players have an advantage on you, but if you're able to play an off-meta deck, it sort of just offsets that advantage they already have, and then you're on a level playing field. You're even at a little advantage because you're able to know what they're going to play, and sort of just take advantage of that, and you'll be able to throw them off. So, sorry, 1 second. So this is how people like Godslayer and Unstoppable were able to qualify for CCGS. They may not necessarily have been the most diverse player all around, but they were a specialist with one deck or one or two decks, and they were able to really take advantage of that and throw off other players in the community. So that was a really big thing. If you're unknown, I think you take advantage of the fact that you're unknown, and you play decks that are off meta that will throw off your opponents. So on the flip side of that, if you are a known player, this video isn't specifically for you, but I can still give you a tip. if you are known, people are going to know what you're going to play. So you're going to be wanting to be diverse in your decks. You want to play decks that aren't all countered by one thing, because then I'll actually show you here after this replay ends. I ended up playing against Bag, and I played a Minor Rocket Poison deck against him, and he was playing Three Musketeers. So, see this first match here. He had no chance because I was able to scout him. I know that he likes to play Three Musketeers, so I played this deck, and he didn't really have any chance to win. So that's sort of a problem that pro players run into if they're known for the decks. And another example, as we were watching a match against 2.9, the Minor deck, B-Rad in Spring CCGS, he was known for being the Minor god, and all he would play was Minor Poison, this Minor Poison deck up top that you're watching, and people would just build like counter decks to him. He got like finals or like top 4 every single day, but he didn't actually qualify for CCGS because people would counter him, and then people like Godslayer and Unstoppable came in and qualified. So I think his biggest weakness was he was known, but he was still trying to play 1 or 2 decks as a specialist. I think once you're known, you should try to become diverse, but when you're unknown, you focus on 1 or 2 decks that are slightly off meta to give yourself an advantage, and that would be your best shot at making it in one of these live events, which will be the best way to catapult yourself into the pro community. So just quickly before I go, I wanted to show one last thing. I think a bad way of being diverse that people don't realize is you need to look at the decks that you want to play and make sure there isn't like one counter to all of them. So if your decks are like Three Musketeer, Horde, and Spellbait, for example, both got a big nerf, but this is just an example I had from the past. People are going to play decks with like arrows and log. They'll be able to arrow your minion Horde, log your Goblin Gang, or arrow your Princess, or arrow your Goblin Gang, and then log your Goblin Barrel. And that just gives you a really bad matchup against both of them. So you want to make sure that you're playing decks that are like different from each other, not have the same counters. It's sort of the same thing. Don't play Giant and Golem, because then they'll just bring P.E.K.K.A. against you and get easy wins against both of them. So make sure that you're playing decks that aren't like countered by the same thing. That's one way that I've seen people be bad diverse, if you can call it that. So with that, guys, I'm just gonna head out. I hope you guys enjoyed these tips. If you have any other questions, just let me know in the comments or Twitter or anywhere else you can reach me. I'll be happy to help you guys. Hope you guys take away something from this, and have a good day.